Hi, what's going on, everyone? So I'm going to go over a quick tutorial today that is going to incorporate a over-the-head cap that can be seen as a form of a body tracer with a little bit of a variation. Out of silliness, I'm going to nickname this the McFord, based off a move that Kyle Ford shared with me at Spark or something like that, and Mr. Parisi shared with me as well along the lines. Putting them both together kind of gave me this fun variation that is a mix between a bottom anti-spin to an overhead cap followed by an extension all together, and it has this really unique unified feel that's really fun to play with. So what it looks like is this. Cool. So what it's broken down into is, I'd say, 2 to 3 different moves. Of course, it's got the overhead cap to it, which you should be pretty familiar with these. If you're not familiar with them, start drilling them and playing with them. The easiest way to get into them is just follow a natural spin towards your body and go over your left shoulder, or whatever natural shoulder you're starting with, so my right shoulder, to my left shoulder over the top of my head, and then bring it back. So play with just back and forth over the top of your head. At first, if you get comfortable with looking to shoulder, as it's going over, it'll give that to you. And if you can close your eyes and kind of feel the upbeat of that anti-spin over your shoulder back, it'll make it significantly easier for you in the long run to really understand and really learn this pattern really well. So you need to know caps. The next thing to know is kind of a half part of a variation that I was talking about that Kyle showed me. So from the aspect of just pendulum your poi back and forth on the bottom, you have this center point that runs up and down the bottom of your body. One hand will anti-spin while the other hand just pendulums back and forth. So pick which hand you want and anti-spin in and then follow it back. And try your best to get those heads to meet up at the bottom. Right here, right here. And I'm switching one hand over the other. So in front. So my left hand, red poise in front, right hand's in front, left hand's in front. From the side, and so you can see the cap over the head from the side, so you know where we're going next. The cap over the head from the side. Cool. So, drill that bottom part, this. Just that pendulum versus anti-spin. And it's only doing one beat down and then following back and forth to the other side. So drill this and get comfortable with this. The next step beyond that is, once you get comfortable drilling this, that downbeat where this poi is hitting down, bring it up to your shoulder as soon as it's done, with a face stall if you like. So as soon as it's down, bring it up to your shoulder to the other side. So drill just this. Just downbeat, left shoulder, right shoulder, back. And when I go over to my right shoulder here, I'm following its natural spin into an extension, like a long arm. And then as soon as my hand gets back to this side, from the long arm, down, up, over, back, down, shoulder, over, back, down, back. Same thing with the opposite hand as well. Drill that over and back a couple times just to get that muscle memory down real well. Something that helped me with this bottom part, with trying to get the heads to link up pretty well and try and keep that clean, because that was something that was the way it was shared with me, was to try and keep both those heads together, is I put a extra shoe or something on the ground, and then while drilling this in either a mirror or just in your home or wherever, I used that point to watch and see if my heads were hitting It takes a little weirdness and a little finesse, but it's totally worth the play with. It's kind of a fun little trying thing you can do. So, you got the bottom part, you know about the caps, you know about the downbeat, bringing it up to your shoulder, over your head, and then back to starting position over here. And you got that with both arms, right? So now we're going to play with putting it together. The last part of the extension with both hands, this hand's penduluming back and forth, while the other hand is doing the anti-spin down. Now what it does in this pattern is, once this hand goes over my shoulder, it comes back and around to an extension. So it just follows this beat here, and on its way back it just does one big circle. And then one big circle again. So both hands are going to do that. This hand does the same thing on the opposite side. So once the anti-spin happens on the backswing, big circle. So if you want, just play with just doing the anti-spin and following a big circle without even putting in the over the head cap, just to get familiar with this movement. So, now that you've played with each of those, let's put it all together. Begin with just pendulum back and forth. Pick whatever hand that you feel most natural with. I suggest starting with your hand that's your non-dominant. So I'm going to start with my left hand. I learned that if I learn with my left hand first, my right hand learns faster or more efficiently. So, underneath, shoulder, head, big circle. Then switch sides. So, a variation you can play with over the head cap with this bottom beat. Now that we've gone over the technique, I'm going to do it 2 more times for you just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And try and slow it down as much as possible. And for you people out there that like to know the hand movements versus just the poi, so you can kind of track it with your hands. So they're going back and forth. Right hand anti-spins, shoulder, shoulder, extension, extension. Yeah, it feels kind of weird to me. Shoulder, shoulder, extension. Same thing at the other hand. Anti-spin at the bottom, shoulder, shoulder, extension. Alright, so variations. So a quick variation I'll just tie into it because this is what kind of fed up the 2 things all together that I'm talking about that Kyle and Michael shared with me. So the first thing is what Kyle shared with me. Same thing, the bottom anti-spin. Right? So we have that going back and forth. The way it was shown to me was on the upbeat, same thing, the shoulder, but bring it behind the head. So a up, over, drift, back, up, over, back, up, over, back. And try and get this outside point where it comes out and over and back pretty synced up, because you'll need that point to hit that center point for them to both line up really well. It's the same thing with the other hands, up, across, and down. And together, so, kudos to Kyle Ford for this. And we'll go through that a couple more times, if I can remember what I'm doing. So that's one variation. So instead of doing the over the head cap at the end, you're just going to use it as a downbeat to your opposite side, and behind your head and back down. So it'll almost be like kind of a stall out here where the pendulum behind the head stops out and you bring it back down for that beat. So if you want, just drill that if that has issues with you or whatever it may be. Cross your body, out, downbeat, over. Same thing the opposite hand. if you want to see it from the side. So that's Kyle Ford's version that he taught me at first. It kind of builds up to this. What Parisi taught me was split, time, Ford's butterflies, and the extension aspect of it, and tying in and overhead the cap with a bottom hand cap. So that builds up together. So how do we do this? Let's get into that real quick. I'll break it down if you want me to. We're going to start in large extensions. What each hand is going to do is it's going to go to non-native shoulder. So over the top, it's going my left shoulder, the bottom, and capping at the bottom. Left shoulder, cap. Left shoulder, right shoulder, cap. So this is what it's moving through. Instead of doing a full circle in the backspin, it's doing the bottom cap here. So you're getting a cap on the bottom and a cap on the top. Left hand's doing exactly the same thing. They're just doing it in opposite timing. So you can start like here if you like, and just play with the over the head cap and switching. Which hand is at the bottom? To get comfortable with the movements. So all I'm doing here is leaving one hand naturally spinning, one hand capping over the top and then back down, and then I'm switching which hand is doing that. The fun part about this is getting the timing together, because when the one hand is capping, the other hand's doing this. So it's not really doing just a beat here at the bottom, it's starting out here at the sides and then capping and coming back to the shoulder. So play with just a cap and come back over the head, cap, over the head, downbeat, over the head. Left hand, same thing. And then put them together. Cool. Thanks. Have a good day.